Hi, I'm Wes, AE0OC. I finally have my new radio bench set up and operational, and I couldn't be happier. I still have to run ground straps to my radios, add my battery backup, and a few other things, but it is a great improvement over my old station. I plan to use my old bench as a soldering station and a place to work on my projects. While I share some images of my new station and work we are getting done on our new storm shelter, I'd like to share my thoughts on the ham radio community, clubs, and making friends in the hobby. I got my amateur license as a measure of preparedness. The COVID lockdowns made me realize how important getting news and information from the outside world really is. I first looked at CB and shortwave radio, but there's very little activity on those as compared to years past, so I started looking into ham radio. I studied for both my tech and general and plan to test for both on the same day. When my testing session was postponed last minute due to an examiner getting COVID, my daughter challenged me to study for my extra during the week I had before the next testing date. That was 7 days that would put the best college cram session to shame, and while there wasn't time for me to take all 3 tests in the 1-hour session, I did take the extra 12 days later and passed. When I got my license, I planned to set up a simple station with an HF and 2-meter radio and learn enough to be able to communicate in times of crisis. But that was all I had in mind. Turns out the HF radio I bought at a ham fest had a problem when I brought it home, so I contacted the club that had brought it to the ham fest. They had me bring it to a tech day workshop they were putting on. The club president did everything he could to fix it, but in the end, the person that sold it to me made good on it. I was so impressed with how helpful and welcoming this club was that even though it was nearly an hour from my home, I joined that day. I've been in a wheelchair for several years, and even before COVID, I was a homebody to say the least. I don't go to the common places where one might make friends, and the few old friends I had seem to have drifted away for one reason or another. I'm a single dad and from a close-knit family, so I wasn't alone. I just had very few friends that I could hang out and do things with. Boy, did that change in a hurry. The Smart Club averages more than 2 events a month and has 3 weekly nets. When I later joined the Oars Club, that doubled. They meet monthly at a local restaurant, have a weekly breakfast meet-up, and 1 weekly net, which I regularly serve as net control on. On top of that, the repeater is active nearly every evening, with club members just talking about their day and any related ham radio activities they've been up to. The extent of generosity and helpfulness in these clubs is amazing. Even across club lines, the relationships are more like family than friends. Anytime I run into something I need help with, there's someone on the local repeaters, by email, or social media who is willing to answer questions or point me in the right direction. Sometimes this goes well beyond just sharing information. The Smart Club has helped several members put up or repair their antennas since I've been a member, and one member even drove to my house just to help me set up WSJTX on my computer. When we took down my new Yagi, we bent the end of one of the elements. The president of the Oars Club gave me a piece of aluminum tubing to repair it. Another Oars member helped me with my mobile power supply, even donating a pair of batteries. Recently, when the Oars repeater went down, the Smart Club stepped up that very night, asking what they could do to help, offering parts, equipment, and their time to help out. I realize not all clubs are like mine, and I am incredibly blessed to have found not just 1, but 2 such clubs. If the club you're a member of isn't like this, be the instrument of change to make it better. Be that guy who's always willing to help out a fellow member. Invite new members to join. Run for an officer position. Just do whatever you can to make your club the best it can be. Remember, Kindness and generosity are contagious. You may soon find you're not the only one striving for a truly great club. The storm shelter we are building is made from a heavily reinforced 20-foot shipping container. The boys are stacking giant blocks of concrete on both sides of the doorway as retaining walls. We'll brace these walls across the top with steel channel covered with flat steel plate. When everything is braced and ready, we will push fill dirt up around the sides and some on top to help with temperature control. I plan to put a 2-meter radio inside the container, along with a camera facing west, which is where our major storms generally come from. As long as the storm doesn't take out my antenna, I'll be able to get into the local repeaters. In the future, I would like to be a part of Skywarn and report on storm conditions. As always, thank you for watching, and 73.